Okay, welcome back to Lenz's Comic Corner Classic List Known Classics. This is episode number 2117, Doubleshot number 2011. Now I got one Marvel trade and one trade from Rebellion. Yes, you'll find out what it is. Now, first up, you're thinking, wait, Nick, last episode you reviewed another trade by the same writer but different type of series. It's just by sheer coincidence. We have the classic Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars. Now you're probably thinking, Nick, Secret Wars. Well, wasn't the crossover that came out about back in 2015? Yes, but this is the original crossover. Yes, this is the original one. The one that came out in 2015 was another telling of it. Just different style of events. And I'll be comparing contrast between this one and the sort of semi-remake. Now, unlike the remake, which had, I think it was about 8 issues, I think it was. Actually, 9 issues. This had 12. This was released in 1984 with Jim Shooter as the writer. Yes, Jim Shooter as the writer. Yes, I know Jim Shooter's book. I love Jim Shooter's work. With Mike Zeck and Bob Layton on the artwork. This cover right here, as you can tell, is Alex Ross. Now, this one is noteworthy for being the first, well, they consider this to be the first major crossover. Excuse me, for our comics as a whole, but it's not really per se. According to some information I heard, and of course, I've been listening to Rob Liefeld's podcast the past couple weeks, and he actually detailed this very well. The fact that the whole behind the scenes stuff with this one is that the purpose of this particular series was, and what was the behind the scenes reason for it? Toys! Yes, toys. Apparently, I think it was Mattel, who bought the toy license from Marvel. Because another company who were doing license stuff for DC. So they basically get in the game. And the reason why Jim Shooter wrote it, because there was an incident related to Chris Claremont and John Byrne where they didn't like each other very much. So Chris Claremont had in one issue Doctor Doom show for a 3-parter. And Arcade basically lit a match off of Doctor Doom's armor. John Byrne didn't like that very much and retconned it to being a rogue Doombot. Yep. And he knew about the pettiness between some writers. So that's the reason why that he decided to do it himself. Now, of course, he would do the following crossover, Secret Wars 2, which I might review in the future. Now, of course, this started, believe it or not, people may think, though, that this started the same time as Crisis on Infinite Earths. Not, let's see. Let me take a look about this, because I want to verify this just to be certain when it comes to this one, because some people might think this is confusing. Let's see. Okay, the first issue of Crisis on Infinite Earths was released in January of 1985. Yep, January 1985. And the first issue of this mini-series, this limited series, was released on January 1984, roughly 1 year prior to Crisis on Infinite Earths come out. So, despite being kind of the same period of time, and pretty much being the same length, yeah, same length. Now, unlike Crisis on Infinite Earths, that basically got a lot of positive reception, and still well respected by the fans this very day as one of the best comic book stories of the 1980s, alongside books like Dark Knight Returns, Batman Year One, Watchmen, and considered up there one of DC's best works. This book, in the meanwhile, it's up there as one of Marvel's best works from the 80s, but Marvel sometimes basically has some good stories released in the 80s, but not a lot of them per se. If you think about it, I mean, after this book basically did lay the groundwork for future crossovers that Marvel's been doing for years. Now, of course, this book not only contains the 12 issues, but also the issues, like the pages for them that led to this event. Like, here's one for you. We have from these following pages. First from, well, let's see. This is from Amazing Spider-Man 251, which led right into the story. It is roughly 1, 2, 3. Well, we have this particular thing. 4 pages. We have 1 page for Kenny X-Men. We have 1 page for Iron Man. That's M181 for X-Men was 180. For Hulk, because they had 1 Hulk issue. 284. We have The Thing. Yes, The Thing. You're thinking The Thing? Yes, he had an ongoing series in the 80s. I believe Ron Wilson wrote a good chunk of it. This is from issue 10, which is like just a couple pages. And we have issue from issue Thor 341. We have Thor entering, and then we have the very next page, like, oh, Thor's with the Avengers. Like, what the heck is going on here? This has been a continuity gap here. We have basically from Avengers 242 and Captain America 292. Yeah, and of course, everybody disappears. Then we have from Fantastic Four 265. And then finally, it's the actual main series. Now, this book is noteworthy also for being a debut in the universe of the Beyonder. A character appeared in this book, the following book, released the following year, and not much else. Of course, the Beyonder is a guy who says, oh, he's from beyond. And Secret Wars 2 is him coming to Earth. Now, how he formed this particular world, it's called Battle World. This is made from multiple different galaxies. He just kind of merged into one. And you have the superheroes and the villains fight each other in this book. On the hero side, you have the X-Men, the Avengers, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Magneto, and that's it. On the villain side, you have the Wrecking Crew. Yes, I'm also going to compare and contrast with, before I go forward here, not only with the 2015 series, but also the version that appeared on the Spider-Man the Animated series. Let's see. On the villain side, well, these are here assembled here. We have Storm, the Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel, Captain America, Hulk, Wasp, Cyclops, Beast is not here. Professor Xavier, The Thing, Thor, Rogue, Magneto, She-Hulk, Spider-Man, Hawkeye, Colossus, Nightcrawler. Of course, pretty much 3 of the 4 members of Fantastic Four. Don't know why Sue Richards not here. On the villain side, we have Galactus, Dr. Octopus, Doctor Doom, Molecule Man, the Lizard, the Wrecker, obviously, Absorman, Enchantress, and Ultron. Yes, frickin' Ultron. Galactus plays a little part at the beginning and a little part at the end, but that's it. So everybody is first not trusting Magneto because he's a former villain. And of course we have various different fights of this whole thing. Now, if you want to listen basically a full detailed view of this entire book, listen to Rob Liefeld's podcast. He basically details this thing down to a T. Of course, this book is also noteworthy. He doesn't mention this at all. But if you're familiar with the modern comics version of this character, well, this book had a debut of a couple of characters. One who still actually makes regular appearances this very day. But this book is also noteworthy for not only introducing 2 new characters, actually 3 new characters. Yeah, 3 characters who are still around this very day. One is not called by that name anymore. This book, here, issue 8, and this is a very infamous cover. This is the debut of the Venom symbiote. It was called Venom symbiote at that point in time, just a symbiote costume. This is where it's made a debut, and this cover has been spoofed many times over the years. It's similar to that of Crisis on Infinite Earths number 8. It's very similar to that one. Mm-hmm. So basically you have Doctor Doom in here, because apparently a couple of small towns were caught up in this stuff. Let's see if I can find me. Let's see. Excuse me. Let's see if I can find it here, because I think it's issue 5 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, basically Doc Doom just inadvertently creates two villains who are basically still on this very day. What villains are they, you might ask? Well, about to show you. We also have this weird thing of Magneto and Wasp apparently trying to become a couple, which is kind of odd. I'm trying to find it here. Okay, we have debut of Volcana and Titania. Well, the second version of Titania, because the originals have been dead for years. And this is issue 4. Yes, issue 4 has debut of this character. Which seems strange, but yeah. Actually, I think it was issue 3, I think it was. Yeah, Titania. Made her debut in issue number 3. And yeah, she's still around this very day. You were thinking, how is she still around? Because she's Absorbman's wife. Yep. Volcania. Not around very much. Not really. And apparently also Volcano's a big fan of the Molecule Man. Yeah, Volcania is not exactly a really big character. After this book wrapped up, and of course she appeared in the following book, obviously, she appeared sporadically over the years. Her most recent appearance was issue 4 of the current volume of She-Hulk. And you're thinking, really? Oh yeah, really? That was the most recent appearance to date. And that was her first appearance she actually had in about 7 years. Because here's the thing, after Secret Wars 1 and 2, she made appearances in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 comics, but technically her most recent appearance was actually Avengers Unlimited Infinity Comics number 25. Yeah, that was a flashback. Well, you could say She-Hulk number 4 was the most recent appearance. But Titania is also, well, still on this very day. So, we do have a debut of one Air character who's in this book, but she's not going by the name anymore, if I can find her. Because in the book, she was like completely random, like, oh, hi, I'm this. We have debut of, if I can find her here, the Julia Carpenter Spider-Woman. Yep, she makes a debut here. Yeah, and those three are the only 3 characters aside from the Beyond make debut here who will share on this very day. But like I said, of these 3 characters, like 2 of whom are still very much active. As a matter of fact, in the case of Julia Carpenter, she still appears in the Spider-Man series by Dan Slott. Though she's no longer Spider-Woman, she's now Madam Web. Yeah, that was something Mark Waid did to her. Where he actually, in the story itself, he had Madam Web, the original one, die. And basically her power went straight to Julia Carpenter, who just got blind and inherited the second power. In the case of the other 2, Titania is still on this very day, and she's still a recurring villain for She-Hulk. Volcania doesn't really appear very much at all. She's like a minor recurring character. But this book is great. I think it's an absolute fantastic book to read. And I do recommend checking it out. Not just because basically it's a Marvel crossover, but because it's really good. It's by Jim Shooter. Yep. At the time, Jim Shooter, when he wrote this, he was editing Cheap Power Comics. And I've also heard that when fans bring up books and sign, they always go to the Secret Wars and like nothing else. This is according to Liefeld. So when I get a chance, I'm not going to bring this book from the sign. I'm bringing other books from the sign. Alright, next up we have is Judge Dredd, the Citadel. Yeah, this actually is a fairly recent stuff for Judge Dredd. I had technically reviewed something from Judge Dredd before. It was the Judge Dredd Case Files Volume 1, his early stuff. This actually is more recent stuff. This is by John Wagner, one of his co-creators. And this book is basically, our preview, but we have Don Cowell, Colin McNeil, and John Higgins. This issues from select issues from 2000 AD Prongs, 2236, 2239, 20. Actually, it was more like 2236, 2245, and 2270 to 2279. Mostly put, basically, it's about detailing the Apocalypse War. We have a survivor who basically details his account. And also the fact that the warden is basically a beautiful woman with a scar on her face. It's mostly not told from Judge Dredd perspective. As a matter of fact, this about being called Judge Dredd, he barely appears in his own stories. Yeah. But still enjoyable story of what it is. And yeah, just basically stories of war. It's good. It's 9 out of 10. Okay, so that's the episode of you. Next episode is going to be Don't Thomas Nagaro, and then, of course, My Hero Academia. And that'll probably be it for tonight. Okay, next video.